Welcome to Liverpool City Region's Creating Careers. We're joined on today's webinar by Joel and Joe, who are both apprentices at Diageo. Hi guys.
Hi.
Hi Joel, you okay?
Thanks for joining us today. And I know that you're going to talk to us about your apprenticeships at Diageo and how that experience has been for you. And we're going to actually run a short VT as well to start us off with. We're really looking forward to your informative session today, and students should have completed the pre-work that's been set for this webinar, and no doubt there'll be some interesting questions for the Q&A as well at the end of the session, so we'll have lots of things to ask you about. Students, please use the Q&A button that's on your screen at the bottom to answer any questions as we actually go through the session today.
Hi, my name's Joe and I'm going to my third year as an apprentice engineer at Diageo. I'm 18 and I started when I was 16 and I currently work in bottling.
Hi, my name's Joel Sampson and I'm the new engineering apprentice here at Diageo. I'm currently 22 years old and come from North Wales. I started last Monday.
My job currently entails shadowing shift and then doing small jobs on my own. This can be heavily electrical or just general engineering as well.
So my job at the moment entails me to shadow a shift engineer on the 7-3 and basically shadow their repair work, maintenance work, and also responding to certain breakdowns on shift. So Joe, what would a typical college day for a first year apprentice look like?
So the theory day was a 1.5 hour lesson in the morning, then you'd have about 11 o'clock break, then you'd have a following lesson. So if you started on an electronic lesson before, it'd be electrical after your break, and then it would go into a different unit after lunch, and you'd have a second short break, and then following after that you could have 1 or 2 lessons depending on which part of the course you're up to. So there's no typical day, to be honest, because it does actually change around quite often, whether you're doing different units. Once you finish that, you'll obviously move on, and different units have different quantities of course.
And then what would a typical second year apprentice day working on site look like?
Once again, there's not really a typical day. Some days I'd follow day engineers looking at reliability and improvement work. Some days I'd quite happily follow a shift engineer looking at making amendments to machines or fixing them when they broke down. And then quite often now I'm starting to get my own projects and then work on parts of the machine myself and then improve it on my own. I started this apprenticeship straight from high school, so I'd just finished my GCSEs, sent them here and they offered me the job. In the first 2 years I did an extended BTEC in electrical and electronic engineering. I'm now moving on to doing a HNC.
So my background will be that I attended university for 3 years to study sports coaching development to become a PE teacher, but I decided that that route of work wasn't for me. And doing work experience and stuff with my dad, I thought that the extended electrical diploma here at Diageo would be the right route for me in my career path.
Whilst working here, I've mainly enjoyed following different engineers who have come from different engineering backgrounds and approach the same problem in a different way. I found that really interesting to observe and learn about how to deconstruct problems for myself.
What I enjoy most about the role at the moment is shadowing different engineers and seeing how fast-paced the environment is. The engineers that work here are always on the move, and if any line goes down or any breakdowns that need repairing, they're straight onto the job, which I find is quite key because I want to be a valuable member of the team in Diageo.
One of the things I found most difficult when starting here at such a young age was trying to prove myself, and I needed to feel a bit more competent than maybe an older apprentice. but it's never proved to be a problem.
So what I believe that I might find difficult in this role is learning all the basics, but hopefully through my qualifications through Diageo and all the help I get by shadowing engineers and through my line manager, hopefully gain better knowledge in this. So the one thing that worried me most about starting this role would be that I don't have loads of knowledge with an engineering background.
I had that concern as well, but you do a year in college before you come onto site full time, and in that year you learn everything from the basics, and then that slowly gets progressed upwards into a more advanced understanding of mechanical and electrical engineering. I've learned that it doesn't matter what age you come into the apprenticeship. I came in at 16, and despite not having the A-levels or further education, it's not presented a problem at any point.
So probably the best career advice I've been given is that if you're passionate and want to learn about something, just go and do it, no matter how old, how young you are. If you want to gain experience or gain better knowledge, just go and do it. It doesn't matter if you're worried about it or have no experience in it. If you feel like you're interested in it, you'll learn, and people will want to see that from you. So next for my career would be in the next 2 years to gain my BTEC qualification through college.
And for me, I'm going to spend the next 2 years doing my H&C, as I've just finished the 2-year BTEC.
Thanks for that. Great video. Was that your first time on camera, both of you, Joe?
Yes. Yeah, that was definitely my first time.
And how did you find it?
All right, there's a few outtakes, but we did get there.
And what about you, Joel?
It wasn't too bad for me because obviously the assessment centre was all based on Zoom, so obviously I've had a little bit of experience in it. But yeah, I'm sure there's some outtakes which you'll see soon and make us laugh a little bit. So look forward to that.
I think it's fair to say that across COVID, we've all been learning how to conduct ourselves on Zoom and Teams, and certainly the schools have been using a lot of it, certainly for the students that have been at home a lot. So I suppose that leads us quite nicely on. It'd be really good to know maybe through this COVID period, and maybe first for you, Joe, how you find that, because you've obviously been an apprentice for a few years, so you've obviously been fully on site, and then obviously COVID hit us. So how have you sort of managed that, or the changes in your role through this current period?
Well, I definitely saw a change coming, like even from the start of this year, and obviously how COVID slowly became this much bigger deal. I've gone from being able to shadow right next to an electrical engineering side of panel to need to step back and gain some more independence, really, which has been brilliant for getting jobs on my own. Then it's been a bit of a drawback trying to get like the more experience with a shift engineer. So there was a stint in March to May at this year when I was working from home, and that gave me time to finish the level 3 BTEC, and then I've come back in, and there's been a few countermeasures, so we have been able to shadow and still learn, but still done it safely.
Yeah, that's good. And what about from your perspective, Joel? Obviously you've just started at the end of August, so you almost should be coming into an apprenticeship in a very different model to how it maybe would have been had you been starting normally. So how are you finding things?
Yeah, I think just on Joe's point, it's obviously quite difficult, obviously not being qualified and not starting college and not knowing the basics which Diageo require. It's been difficult to sort of shadow people in the role of engineering. It's quite up close and personal in a lot of instances, but you've got to take a bit of responsibility, understand that obviously we're in a pandemic at the moment and there's guidelines that the company have put out you need to follow. I've been working from home the past couple of weeks, but my line manager and some of the lads on shift have been sending me over stuff to do before college, just to give me a bit of an insight on what to expect. So any electrical drawing work, some mechanical work, just so I think my head keeps ticking over, and also just gives me a little bit of a head start before college starts, which has been great from their behalf. They don't have to do that for me, but they've been really good, and yeah.
Brilliant, yeah. So I suppose just starting with you, Joel, then, and I know you obviously you've been to university, and then you've obviously had a bit of a change in terms of what you was doing at university. But how did you find that the skills maybe and the opportunity that you'd had through school and university sort of set you up ready for you to take on this apprenticeship?
Yeah, there's loads of transferable skills out there. It's just you pick at them and do them. I've gained a lot of qualifications for university and gained a lot of transferable skills that can be passed on, I think, to a lot of different career ways. I sort of had a little bit of knowledge of engineering. My dad's an aircraft engineer, so I've always helped him out around the house and stuff, or with cars, or my local career club where we have rollers and mowers that need maintaining. So I would help him with that. But in regards to transferable skills, university and school teach you lots of things: organisation skills, timekeeping, all skills like that, which I think put me in good stead to get the role here at Diageo.
Yeah. And Joe, from your perspective, you've obviously come to the end of your apprenticeship and you're now doing your HNC now for the next 2 years. So looking back, was the apprenticeship route the right route for you?
Yeah, definitely. So I've only just turned 18, so I've got some mates that are going to university now, and obviously I'm seeing them kind of go through and do an extra 3-4 years of education, a completely different route to me. Like it's the route Joel did, and I think seeing what they're doing, and especially during COVID, how it's been as an experience, I'm very glad I've took the apprenticeship route.
And when you left school, was it always your I suppose was you thinking about just an apprenticeship? Were you looking for any type of apprenticeship, and how did you sort of come to actually take an apprenticeship with Diageo at the time?
I actually applied for this one through the training college that Diageo goes through, but I applied for just engineering apprenticeships. I applied for this, the RAF, and I think I applied for Thomas Cook. And then this one was really kind of well organised in terms of like getting back to you and sorting stuff out for your interviews and everything. And he meant, whenever I put the application in for this, I got a test date for my initial assessment within about 2 days. So like straight away, it was kind of showing that they knew what they were doing, which kind of, for me, it showed a bit of like professionalism and made me think instantly positively about Diageo.
Yeah. So I've got another question in here that says to Joel, how did you hear about Diageo?
Yeah, so mine's a little bit different. My friend's relative sort of knew the company before its name, Diageo, and when I mentioned that I applied for the company, I found, I think it was on maybe Indeed when I was looking at certain things. So I applied through that and then went through their system. But then speaking to this gentleman, he said they were a really good company and the sort of same as Joe. I applied for a couple of things and I got through the assessment centre to a couple of things as well. But the way Diageo present themselves through Zoom, it was really professional. It was really tailored towards the lads that were doing the assessment. I just thought it was a really, really good day, and luckily enough, I got it, and that was the main one I wanted after having such a good impression. Although it was Zoom, it was so professional and so good that it was great. I got the job in the end.
And we've had a question in around teamwork, Joe. So from a perspective of you starting, you're obviously a couple of years in, how do you feel as being part of that team at Diageo? And do you think from being somebody young coming straight from school, how was your integration into that team of obviously maybe people that were a lot older than you? I know sometimes that's something that we talk to a lot of students around, some of the fears and anxiety around maybe starting a job or starting an apprenticeship with an older team. So how did the team welcome you at Diageo?
They were in fact very welcoming. There is a massive range of here, going from, I think our youngest like fully qualified engineer is 24, and that ranges to people retired and then come back on contract. So we do have like this huge range, and then I've worked with most engineers here, and all of them have been quite happy to kind of either slow down for a minute and explain something, or literally just as they're doing it, talk me through it. And it's never been a problem. I've never felt as an outcast.
Yeah. Joel, I've got a question for you. So one of the students is asking, was leaving university an easy decision for you, or something that you carefully considered?
Oh yeah, it was definitely something I carefully considered. With becoming a PE teacher, it was quite hard to sort of get experience without gaining the qualification in it. Obviously, I can't, at the age of 19, I can't go and do a 6-week work experience within the school. I had a unit task in my last year, which gave me 12 weeks to sort of become a PE teacher, sort of planning lessons, doing risk assessments, marking, doing report writing. And within the first couple of days, I just thought it wasn't for me. I wanted something more hands-on. I wanted something more where I could put my own influence on it. And that's sort of where the engineering thing came from. My mum and dad didn't want me to. My mum and dad want me to go, and I had offers from 2 universities to go and do my PGCE. But it just wasn't for me. And I just say, if you're not going to enjoy something you want to do for the rest of your life, for the next 40 years of your life, but it's a really long time, then I would really consider maybe looking at different avenues and trying different things. I think the more experience you get at a younger age and doing different things, the better chance you'll find something you really enjoy doing for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Joe, I've got a question that I will put to you. So it says, what kind of college assignments were you set when you first started your apprenticeship?
So a lot of the initial ones were building up this general level of intelligence regarding electrical, electronic engineering, and then we had like maths units and that kind of stuff as well. So especially with the maths, obviously, I came straight from high school, but we had people coming in who hadn't done maths for maybe 4 to 6 years. So there was like kind of refreshers that built everyone up to this level, and then from there it just slowly progressed. In the BTEC, you're only doing 1 unit of maths, so in the second year there's no maths. So you do this quite, some of it's quite advanced maths. You do the similar stuff they'll do at A level, but because you're doing it throughout the year, you get slowly taken up to that level. So when you start doing stuff like calculus, it's not a problem because you're capable by that point. It goes the same with the electrical and the electronic. When you're doing like simulations of circuits on the computer, by the end they are quite advanced and using stuff you'd never heard of at the start. But when you, once you're doing it, it isn't a problem because you've been brought to that point.
And do you tend to find that once you've been to college, obviously what you're learning in college, is it easy for you then to bring that back into your apprenticeship? And does the rest of the team at Diageo then help you with that if there's something that you're struggling with that you've been sort of picking up through college?
I think it's both ways. Sometimes I've been able to bring stuff I've already learned at work to college, and then the other way around as well. Not all of it that I've covered in college has come up in work, but some of the stuff I've covered in work, like I've not even touched at college. So obviously you do have a course at college, and some of that has to be covered, and I probably will cover it at a later date. But in terms of some of the theory stuff, I'm not at a point where I'd touch that at work yet.
Okay. And I've got another question, Joel, for you. What were your initial fears on, or did you have any maybe initial fears on actually starting your apprenticeship?
Yeah, I didn't have any fears. I was a little bit comprehensive. Obviously, you don't really sort of see a 22-year-old apprentice, but I think that's becoming a different sort of theme nowadays. I think it's more to just say that although maybe some of the guys watching might go off to university and decide at the end of university that sort of saying what I've done, that the course they've done or the career path they take isn't for them, apprenticeships are a great way to get back into education and sort of learn something new which they enjoy or potentially want to get a career in. So I wasn't really worried. Comprehensive, yes, but the guys at Diageo made me feel, again, really welcomed. So yeah, it's been great.
Great. So question is, what is the #1 piece of advice you would give students in school considering their future career? So Joe, I'm going to ask that one to you first.
I got asked this when we did that video. It did kind of stump me for a second because I've never had any kind of direct advice. I've always had a bit of guidance from like family and then school that's either pushed you to college or the apprenticeship. But I know in that video, obviously Joel's given this kind of nice quote about age and apprenticeships, whereas I never had that. But I said, and I do stand by it, that it doesn't need to be intimidating to go into work at a younger age. Obviously, when you think about going into what is more than part-time employment, you think of people a bit older than just a 16-year-old. But like I said, it's never been a problem going in at a younger age, and if it is a consideration to do an apprenticeship, it is definitely worth thinking hard about.
And what about yourself, Joel?
Yeah, again, I would just say probably get as much experience as you can. You'd be surprised, I think, in my opinion, that companies really do like sort of, if you get a part-time job now through college, maybe work your way up a ladder in your job, maybe do some out-school curriculums. I don't know, maybe you teach the violin, you coach football, put that on your CV, and honestly, it means a lot. You don't understand how much you gain from it, and you're showing that company that you're willing to learn and willing to put in that extra yard, for example. So I would definitely say gain some experience in whatever you need to do, and don't be afraid to sort of carry out other duties, because I think companies really do want that from employees.
Yeah. And I think a final question is to you, Joe. What are your future aspirations?
So after I've done these 2 years in my HNC, that's my apprenticeship finished, and hopefully I'll then move on to doing a engineering shift role within Diageo, and then from there, there's like possible career paths kind of within Diageo and outside of it that would be like quite appealing and not too hard to get with the experience I've gained and the qualifications I've gained.
And do you, just as a bit of an aside to that one then, do you think by doing your HNC that actually provides you with a better opportunity in terms of that the career pathways that are then open to you because you're actually then doing your HNC?
Yeah, definitely, because even if you look like inside the units within the HNC, some of them, like maybe my math unit might not seem appealing to a employer, but if they see this further electronic qualification that I've got, and they're looking for someone with like an in-depth understanding of electrical engineering, that might be something that enticed them into employing me, because of this, not only the experience I've earned with a reputable company like Diageo, because of the qualifications I've earned from college.
Yeah, no, that's great. And what about yourself, Joel? I know you're just starting off since the end of August, but I suppose you must have some future career aspirations in terms of you, maybe where you see yourself in the future.
Yeah, I think it's just very similar to what Joe's just said, really. I think Joe's sort of said all I would have said. I think there's lots of opportunity abroad with Diageo, and they're willing to sort of put you through different sort of qualifications. So maybe if I want to come out of engineering and go into manufacturing excellence or something else, then there's definitely potential pathways there for me, as long as you show the company you're willing to do so. So yeah, maybe work abroad one day with the company. I don't know, but we'll see.
Oh, no, that's great. We've got no more questions, so I just want to, on behalf of the Careers Hub and obviously all of our students across Liverpool City region, just a real big thank you for obviously coming on today, sharing your experience of obviously taking on your apprenticeship roles. Obviously, good luck for the future in terms of where you want to get yourselves to. Students, please don't forget to check out our Creating Careers roadmap to evaluate today's session. Please go to our website where you'll find all of our employer video links on our new YouTube channel. And students, all your pre-work courses are also on there as well for you. Our website, www.growthplatform.org/talent/careers hub. And again, if you've got any other questions that you want answering after today, I'm sure that we can get Joe and Joel to answer them for you. Please send them across to us on a careers hub at growthplatform.org. Thanks for joining. Thanks.